Dum, da, dum, dum, dum.
I knew you'd have something.
Welcome back, Geek Freaks. We are doing a book club again. I am here, TC.
Okay.
We have Toy Story over there.
Hello.
We have JJ somewhere. I don't
Right
know where
here.
he is. He's got some blue stuff behind him. He's underground, maybe, in the crystal world.
Yep.
And we have our special guest, our good pal, Oz.
Woo!
The great and powerful, independent, comic-loving Oz.
That's right.
All right, so this book we're reading today is called Thumbs. It's by Sean something and somebody else.
Sean Lewis, and the artist is
Hayden
Sherman.
Sherman. This is the beautiful graphic novel that Oz brought for us today.
Ooh,
Put it right there.
that's looking nice.
It doesn't stay.
Yeah.
All right. Make sure to talk into the microphone, sir.
Okay.
So everyone can hear you.
So this was highly recommended by Oz. We had never heard of this before.
I
As
do have
into
a
image
gripe,
as I am.
though.
What?
I thought this was going to be about thumb people. I was a little misled. I was like, ooh, it's going to be like the Wiener movie, but
Yeah,
with thumbs. And that's not what it was about at all.
Not at all.
Are thinking that. All right, so spoiler alert, we're going to talk about the book. If you haven't read it and you do want to read it, watch anyway, and then go read it again.
Yeah.
So why do you pick this book?
So
What is it that you enjoyed?
well, I like Sean Lewis as a writer. He's done
Coyotes?
Coyotes. He did another book called
Few?
The Few, and then the first one that he did was Saints.
I didn't check that.
And the main character, actually, that's based on Blaze, is the comic book shop owner in my town.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's his cousin. So if you guys haven't heard, Sean Lewis's Coyotes got picked up as a movie this week. He announced it on Twitter.
Right.
And Thumbs has been one of those stories that the Hollywood Reporter has been putting out as a must pick up for a studio. They feel like it would make a great movie. So I figured, why not jump on something that was hot off of last year's must-read list.
Did you read it off the shelves, or did you pick it up after?
I did. I read the first 5 issues off the shelves, and then I picked up the trade because I just moved and I don't know where all the books are. So I picked up the trade, and it read a lot better the second time around.
Yeah. Okay. Can I say I didn't know what to expect going into this? I was like, oh, it's an independent image series. I've read a bunch of those. You know, I read this thing last night, and I finished it. I was like, I didn't absorb a lot of that.
Yes.
And I ended up reading it again today, and I really needed that second read.
Yeah. The artwork's a lot different. It's something we'll get into, I guess. But,
That's a good word for it.
yeah. It's the artist took a unique approach to doing this. It's basically grayscale. That's it. With a little bit of color.
Yeah.
Some pink here and there.
Yeah, and that'll signify something. I will agree the story seemed a little bit choppy, but reading it that second time around, now in the trade format, it really kind of brought things together.
Yeah, because you know where things are headed, so you know what to look out for.
Right.
You're not expecting different things and then just being completely blindsided when stuff happens. You're like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
Yeah. What was your take?
Yeah. So I only read through it once. I didn't read through it a second time. I don't think I had any issues following along, though. Like, I felt like I got where they were going. I think, I'll be honest, I thought it was a pretty easy read. I was actually on the other end of the spectrum.
Interesting.
It seemed very straightforward. I mean, I got some of the messages and stuff like that. I mean, there's stuff I could have missed, maybe. But maybe if I read it
I got the
again.
messages. For me, it was mostly plot points.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I felt like it jumped around a lot, and I kind of got lost at points.
No, I mean, I'm surprised you said that, especially since you read it in one shot, too. Maybe you just rushing through it.
I definitely read it a lot slower the second time, but I knew where it was going then.
I think it was like 2 or 3 days that I got through it. Did you read it in the book format, or you?
I read it as single issues, and then I read it in the book format. Just because, like I said, I couldn't find I don't know where they're at.
Do you feel that it reads better as a full story or one issue at a time?
It's a good question.
I think it reads better as a full story, having it all here. I think I really had a hard time with it coming out monthly. It was on schedule. It wasn't delayed.
No.
It sold out really quickly. So I had no problem following it monthly, but it read a lot better as a trade.
And this came out just last year, right?
Yeah.
Like June of last year.
Yep.
So do we want to back up and just tell our viewers, if somebody's watching this, that what's this book about? Like, what is the premise of this book? Did we do that already? While I was checking everything?
So I think we kind of just jumped into our thoughts.
We did.
I think actually now is probably a good time to kind of discuss what it is. So who wants to do that?
All right.
You
So
wanna read the back?
You're our special guest. So.
I'm going to read the back just to get it as best, because it's kind of hard.
It's hard to describe.
Summarized, yeah.
In a not so far off future, morally bankrupt billionaires build armies on the backs of impoverished, tech-obsessed youth. Charlie Thumbs Fellows, born to absent parents and raised by the influential mom parenting app, is a member of one such army. And when the government outlaws technology, Thumbs finds himself at the center of a war. Caught between two dangerous powers and separated from his only remaining family, Thumbs must find a way to save his sister, his country, and himself before all goes to hell.
There you go. Okay.
Excellent.
So basically, this is kind of like a what is it, like a tech company, you know, computers and stuff like that
Yeah.
being outlawed or stuff like that, and
Yeah, someone...
I think everything. I think at one point they're saying like oh, wouldn't you see this like small blurb? It's like, oh, wouldn't it be easier to do that with like a calculator? And it's like that's like a gateway, like
Well, basically-
or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
Technology's being outlawed, and
Yeah.
here we've got two different factions. One being, you know,
pro technology and one being completely
Yeah.
against it.
Right.
All right, so these mom apps, which is interesting that they're called apps. I was like, that was so interesting. So essentially, they've all been destroyed, or so they thought, right?
Correct.
And there's one left,
Correct.
which was
Charlie's.
Charlie's.
That was in hibernation because
He was in a
He
coma.
was in a
he was
coma.
in a coma.
So
And then
it
when
was in
he-
a coma because he was in a coma, basically.
Right.
Yeah. So then when he woke up, that mom reactivated essentially.
Correct. And every single mom app that had been out there, everything downloaded into this one mom app.
Because she was the last one.
Right. Giving her complete...
Yeah, basically creating a supercomputer.
Correct. That it's funny though. At one point, I don't know if you remember, a couple times she's referred to as a god
Yeah.
because she just gets so powerful. It was interesting that I read a review on this, and it was in Adventures in Poor Taste. That's the website, where they said a beautiful series that lacks perspective, and yet Comic Book Roundup described it as The Social Network meets Blade Runner.
right.
Again, it brings up a lot of weird and maybe somewhat touchy subjects for people because technology is so prevalent today everywhere. You wouldn't be watching this unless you had a computer, a phone, something.
No, we put this on the radio waves.
Yeah.
But it's like a projection of where this could go.
Right,
And what
I
it
guess.
could- and the bad that it
I
could
mean,
do.
what was interesting was when I picked the trade up, what caught me that was different was he wrote an intro. Sean Lewis wrote an intro to the book. And I think it puts a lot of things into perspective because he says, I don't hate technology.
He doesn't. He liked our post on Instagram, so he put fire.
Yeah.
Did he really?
Thank you, Sean Lewis, for liking the post.
He says, I have an iPhone. I'm typing on this MacBook. My son and I will Skype with his grandmother later. I don't hate technology. I wouldn't even have this book. I wouldn't even have this book in your hands if it weren't for technology. It's an amazing tool, but I like humans more. Strike that. I love humans. I love how we can accomplish things that seem impossible. I love how we continue to learn throughout our lives. I love how we can care for strangers in need. And of course, I'm confused how we can turn our backs on those closest to us. How can we choose narcissism? How can we group each other, define one another, dismiss each other? Thumbs is about a kid who just wants to win his video games. He's a stand-in for us. He wants to enjoy his life. He wants some status. He wants to be on the right side even before he knows who the right side is. He is us. And he comes into contact with zealots on both sides, extremists, fascists, things that crush humanity, not embolden it. Tech is a tool. It's not an answer. The people you see every day are an answer. On a side note, Hayden's work in this series is beyond phenomenal. He's starting to become that generational guy, and it's real pleasure to work with him. And I love the book. I can honestly, it goes places you wouldn't expect. It dares to be sincere. Like humans, it's going to challenge you with its heart. So thanks for picking it up. We made it for you. Sean Lewis.
That's nice.
Yeah, I think he reiterates a lot of that in the book, especially towards the end. I mean, Adrian Camus, who's the kind of the patriarch of like the mom and the other stuff, he's even the one who says, like, you know, technology isn't the one that's evil. Technology isn't the one, like, the people who get into power, you know, both of them lost kids because of, you know, social media bullying and stuff like that. Because it's not because of technology that happened. It's people. Like, people that, you know, they say the mobs. It's like, I think at the end he said one of his dad's, like, the quote was like, I love people. I just hate, I love humans. I just don't like them when they're together.
Right. In groups.
Yeah, in groups.
Yeah.
But I think this is really, it was showing you the dangers of both extremes, really.
Yeah.
Like, that's, you know, that was a message I took away from it. And I think the thing that it's really saying is you need balance. Like, everyone needs balance in life. You know, technology is good, but, you know, I mean, I even try to do this, you know, we're trying to build something here with, you know, Long Island Comic Guys, Don't Feed the Geeks. So, you know, I'm spending so much time on my phone, but at the same time, you know, I get home, put my stuff down, you know, look around, you know, do stuff, you know, play with my kid. It's just, it's you have to kind of assess. And there's actually randomly Matthew McConaughey, I was watching him do like a commencement speech or something like that. And he was talking about, you know, I always assess, you know, what's going on in my life. Like, you know, try to make sure the scales are balanced. Like, oh, if I'm doing too much of this, I got to put more work into that, you know. And I think that's what it is. And I think for us, I don't think it's as much of an issue. I feel like the generation growing up now, it is so dependent on technology. I mean, just think of, I think we talked about it last time. What's the game that all the kids play now? Fortnite and stuff like that. Like, that's like an addiction. It's probably more, like, I think there's probably more kids like addicted to that right now than an actual drug.
Like, we played video games as kids, but we also went outside and did other stuff.
And I never really played video games. I played video games, but I wouldn't sit down and play until like 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like right before dinner time, I'd play. And then, like, you know, even then, like, you know, after we ate, like, we'd watch TV together and do stuff together. Yeah. And then, like, maybe after some time, like, I played video games again. So, like, at the most, I played maybe 2 hours a day. Yeah. And you know, back then, that was a lot too. Mm-hmm. But now, like, your kids are probably playing 8 hours a day, easy. If not more.
Easy.
Yeah. That's, you know, that's because you have games on your phone, you have games on your iPad, you know, I don't even know if the kids use consoles as much anymore, but you have the games there. It's just everything at your fingertips. It's hard to lose yourself in the digital world.
Yeah.
And that's exactly I think that's the, you know, that's really what they're trying to tell you is, you know, you have to kind of, one of the things I thought of when I was reading this is, what's it called?
Ready Player One?
No, well, yes, but Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He goes, you know, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around every once in a while, you may miss it. I was like, that's kind of like what they're trying to say in this too, which I thought I think it's a good message. I think it's something that I always try to focus on, but I don't know if enough people do. So people who are struggling to find that balance, I think this is definitely a good read.
Very well said.
Oh, I was impressed. I'm impressed. That was good.
We don't really read anything too deep, so most of the time. That's true.
Yeah, it's
mostly I hate the goddamn Green Lanterns.
I also found it interesting that they were using kids they were basing these scores that these kids had in these, I guess, simulation fighting games, essentially to build an army with. And I found that interesting because I don't know if you know this, JJ, but the U.S. Army put out a game called America's Army.
Yep.
And it was a first-player shooter.
That was a recruitment tool.
And it was a recruitment tool, and based off how you scored,
you were getting that call.
What? Yeah, you would get certain phone calls to send you into certain different divisions. And as I read this, I was like, I remember hearing something about this, but it kind of flew under the radar. It wasn't.
Oh, that's nice.
And then I started doing a little bit of research into it, and it's still active. Like, they still have it. It's been renamed and rebranded, but it's out there. And I know you're former service, I'm former service, and that's just that kind of thing just starts to like wig me out a little bit because I just don't know if that's the kind of person I necessarily want fighting in armed forces and things like that.
Interesting.
You know,
Well, I think these two in the book, so the kids were a lot younger also.
Yeah.
So, and their minds are more, malleable to where you can pretty much brainwash them, which they were doing on the opposite side.
Right.
So, do they have a name for each side? I don't remember.
Well, one of them was the
one is the powers. And then
Powers. So the
other-
power side was doing
kids,
more.
Yeah.
The power side was doing more of the brainwashing. I felt to keep kids away from those type of technology, where the other side was like, no, you need this. This is how we're going to fight it. We need to bring it back, and you had the mom app.
Yeah.
So since you brought that up, that's the one thing. Like I got where the mom app was coming. What do you think his interpretation? Like, what do you think his vision for the mom app was? Like, what do you think that he was trying to portray or tell from her perspective? Because I was reading it and I was like, I know what he's. I get what he's trying to do here. I just don't know how to name it. Like, who is he trying to kind of compare mom to? Like, that was the thing.
like in real life.
Yeah, like in society, it doesn't have to be like a specific person, but like who is mom supposed to be? Because she's the only one who seemed like she kind of didn't fit on either side. And like she was, I guess, the epitome of technology.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not drumming.
It's like this, my ear going, geez.
But yeah, that was the only thing. Like, I mean, I guess she could. But she didn't seem that way until the very end.
I was a little confused by her because I wasn't sure what her role was.
To me, I feel like she made a 180
Oh yeah.
by the end of the book.
So I feel like, if I'm understanding your question correctly, I feel like she starts out as,
I guess, what is she supposed to represent?
okay, so I feel what ends up happening is somewhere along the line in this future, parents kind of stop parenting, if you will, because they're either out, they have to work, they themselves become tech junkies like you see in the sewers, and kids are kind of just forgotten. So this mom app is supposed to be there as a sort of chaperone.
Okay.
But when he starts having those flashbacks, remember, she starts to become outlawed and people start turning people in for using the mom app, because who's really policing her?
Yeah, no one really.
And I think that's something that, I like I said, it's not a perfect story. There are things missing that I wish were explained a little bit better. But I think a lot of it's left up to your sort of imagination to think about. I mean,
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, like it could mean someone different for anyone, for each
It's open to
person.
interpretation.
Yeah.
right. And it's kind of scary how kids get forgotten, in these situations. And they are, I mean, in impoverished areas, sometimes the parents do have to work 2-3 jobs. It's understandable. And then these kids are left at home with these computers and things, and that becomes what teaches them.
What influences them and their decisions and everything.
It's been that way for a long time. I mean, starting with TVs and stuff like
Of course.
that. I mean,
Right. So I don't think...
what kid isn't influenced by technology and video games?
Right. And I don't think...
YouTube and whatever.
I don't think it necessarily started out as a bad thing, but again, nothing was policing this mom app.
Yeah. So,
So
do you think the mom app is like a representation of technology and the internet as a whole?
I think it's what happens when it's not kept in check. I think it's what begins to happen is that this AI begins to learn and adapt, and it realizes it's being threatened, and it has sentience. So just like if you watch Westworld, these machines start gaining sentience, and they don't want to get shot anymore. They don't want to get hurt anymore. So I think in a sense, she kind of develops a mentality where I'm the last one, I got to survive.
Yeah.
True.
And I mean, maybe not the right way of doing it, but when you're pushed to the brink, what else are you going to do? She was fighting for survival, and maybe not going about it the right way, but that's where it led to. because both sides just took it to like just crazy extremes.
So let's take that for a moment. So we start off with the book, because I don't think, starting off with the book, we have this guy Thumbs who gets injured, right?
Yeah.
So what? Like I got a little confused on how we got.
I think they're out on a mission. They don't tell you exactly
Right.
what the mission is. They go out. He's with this other character, Nia, who seems like she's really like kind of the
right.
of like the whole Cadmus kids or whatever. Cadmus, I'm sorry. There's no D. I keep wanting to say Cadmus because of
Superman.
from DC. But yeah, so she's they're together on a mission, and he constantly says I'm weak, I'm not strong, like I'm not a good shooter. He goes,
Not a soldier.
He's more of a thinking soldier than he's more of a general than a soldier kind of a thing. And he gets shot and he's hurt, and she's rushing him to save him. And, it seems like I think everyone kind of understands his importance though. Like even like her, she understands his importance. Like she knows that they need to save him, and then from there it goes dark, and he goes into this coma.
Right. So he's in a coma for 2 years.
No, more than that.
More than that.
11.
Was it 2 years?
I think it was like 11, wasn't it? Or
Was it that long?
7, 6, maybe?
7 or 11, one of those.
7, yeah, I think it was like 7.
Yeah, because he wakes up, he was like 25.
Well, that's right. That's
He
right.
missed his whole adolescence.
Yeah.
He said so.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
You're
that part I
right.
remember.
Because there was a part where he went back 2 years,
Yes.
and that's when he was in the trailer park. My apologies.
Yeah.
So he wakes up out of the coma,
And mom wakes up with him.
and mom wakes up with him, and then that's where the story goes.
Yep.
To where he's got to find his
Sister.
sister
Tabitha.
Tabitha,
Tabby.
and
Turns out she's in like a school for the powers.
She's
or
an
whatever.
Powers.
advocate.
Yeah.
right, and then
That's where you learn how extreme they've become, because they, like he said, they don't even want them using calculators. They don't want them relying on any technology whatsoever.
Crazy.
And I feel like that was a while. Like you don't actually even see the other side other than like the soldiers. What do
Right.
they call the soldiers again?
They were just named Powers.
the powers,
Powers,
yeah.
yeah, right,
Powers.
And they,
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't really see those until like issue 4. Like,
Yeah,
but you
like
saw the soldiers
like
in issue
advocates and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
end of 2,
advocates
maybe
and, yeah.
3, but you don't see the power people, the big guys, until
Yeah.
Yeah.
really issue 4. And there's only 5 issues out of this.
Would you have liked it to be longer?
I think so.
Yeah.
It should have been longer.
I think there's a lot of gaps, and I think it's done in that.
Open to interpretation.
Yeah, I
manner.
think so. I think he's leaving a lot open for you to kind of fill in what you will, how you want to. But I think it would have been a lot better if maybe 8 to 10 issues probably would have sufficed.
I could see 10, 2 volumes.
Yeah, 2 volumes I think would have been a lot better. I mean, this is 5 issues. Like
Yeah.
this is.
I mean, it's like
These are
200
thick issues too.
It's 250 pages,
Usually
but
it's
it
like-
read pretty quickly. I felt like there wasn't a ton of dialogue either. There was dialogue, but like it was like kind of.
Well, I think that's why
it was easy to get through.
That's why I kind of sped through it the first time,
Yeah.
because there wasn't a lot of dialogue. It was a lot of pages with just a couple thought bubbles on it. So I don't know. I felt like it was easy for me to go quick and then be like, wait a second, I missed a whole bunch.
It was 6-year difference between the time he went into the
6,
coma and
makes
came out
sense.
of it. So he was 15, then came out
So
when
we
he was
were both wrong.
21.
So, but I think, so he comes out of the coma. He's trying to find his sister. You finally start to see what the power side of it is and what they're doing with the kids. He finds Nia. The advocates come for them. They get into a huge blowout. And that's when you start to see the mom app at its power. Like, it's just way stronger than anyone thought. And it seems to be getting stronger.
Well, it's way stronger because it's essentially all the moms in one.
Right, but
Yeah.
as it's connecting to more and more technology, that's why they want to. The main goal now is to get into the Power City, have the mom app upload itself into all the tech that's left,
Yeah.
and save Tabitha. And that's where they head off from there. Getting shot at, blown up a couple times, chased.
Yeah.
But I think the imagery plays an important part in this. Hayden Sherman started out drawing this initially, from what I read in an interview. He started out drawing this initially in full color, and it didn't seem to work. He felt something was off. something was getting lost in the story. So he then went back and went to a grayscale where the world is all in a grayscale. And the only thing you see in pink, like you can see behind us, is the tech.
Right.
The tech's the only thing that's highlighted in pink. So you can really see how important it is in the world and where it's at in the world. And I think the art tells a story on its own. Now, whether or not you like his art style, because it is very...
I feel like it's something like I've seen styles like that before. They're not ones that I'm a fan of, but I get where it's going. I mean, even there's people who are revered. Like I'm not a big Darwin Cook art style fan. It's just like I don't think it means that it's not good. It's just not the style I like specifically. But yeah, I think this type of art style does work especially better for the independents though. I feel like for the the mainstream comics, people are expecting a certain look. I feel like these tell almost like it tells like a grittier story.
Yes.
Definitely.
And and I think that works. Like even because in God Country, it was a little bit cleaner than this in terms of like the
But it was
lines
the same
and everything.
kind of gritty style.
But it had like a very gritty style, which tells a more of an adult story too. This is a mature book too, by the way. So
Yes.
if you wanted to read it to your kids, keep that in mind.
And not to give away. I mean, do we give away the ending?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, well, let's get to that because there's stuff I want to talk about there. But let's go. Like, are there any characters that you kind of feel like you connected with most? We'll do everyone, but let's start with you as our special guest.
Definitely Charlie. Thumbs where he's trying to do the right thing. It just seems like it never works out for him. He just has the worst luck possible, and if anyone knows me, that's me. Just the possible worst luck. But he's also just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
The most important thing is family, and everything else. Screw it. It doesn't matter. It's just that his sister's the only important thing.
Yeah.
What about you?
It's I didn't. I get where he was coming from. I don't know if I connected with him most. I definitely like Nia a lot.
Yeah.
Nia kind of had like a take charge kind of attitude which I can relate to. But I also like, even though we didn't get a lot of him, I really liked Adrian Camus. Like he was kind of a cool this kind of hits both things, but like things that surprise you. That was definitely something that surprised me when you see him turn around, like in Powers, Central.
He's sitting in the chair or whatever.
Yeah. But I guess like him and like Nia were the ones that I kind of related to. I got a lot of like belly aching from Charlie a little bit. I was just like, this kid's always complaining. Yeah, so he was in a coma for 6 years. Who hasn't been there?
I know.
What about you, Toy Story?
I don't know if a character in general I resonated with, but one scene that resonated with me was when
Tabby.
When Tabby turns around and shoots Nia without knowing who she is.
Yeah.
And she's like, wait a second, that's my brother right there. Yeah. And I feel like that's really like, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody's been in a situation where they did something innocent, but it has such horrible repercussions. And I felt like that was a really good representation of that. We don't talk, not live, man. That's post-show talk.
If it was a closed case, you can't be retracted.
I don't think I had one. Same with you. I don't think I connected with just one. I mean, it was. If I had a scene in it, the scene where Tabby was walking, into the technology, following that girl, which was the daughter of one of the Powers, and seeing her hanging there, like that was probably the one scene that really hit me pretty hard. But yeah, there's not really one person that I connected with. It was just I found it difficult.
Okay,
that's fair.
All right, so then let's since I kind of started it off with anything, was there anything that kind of like surprised you or you didn't see coming from the story? Yeah, why don't you...
yeah, the ending. I didn't think that's how it was going to end, and I don't know if I want to spoil it just yet, but the ending.
No, go ahead. So I mean,
it basically the technology side won, basically. So
did they?
But did they? Right.
That's what's really interesting.
who wins? I don't think anybody won at the end of this, but
I think the people in the middle finally won.
Yeah.
for basically mom to go away,
Yeah.
Thumbs had to kill himself.
Right.
Because they were connected.
So I saw that coming when I realized that mom was going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't see that.
When I saw that she was going to be a hindrance to everything, I was like, oh, that's the only way that they could.
Well,
kill
my
her,
thing
probably.
was that I thought they were going to solve it right away by just saying "mom shut down," and I thought that was going to be I was like, oh, this is going to be pretty easy, and it's like, oh, that didn't work. I was like, all right, so I guess he's jumping out the window now. But yeah, that was definitely a little bit of a surprising scene. Again, like Camus, how I said, my thing was I didn't see that happening only because I didn't think they were going to kill Nia and him.
Right.
But then once they revived Nia, I was like, oh, so,
Okay, so he's
so
done.
that's to the point where I was just like, so maybe he might go
Yeah.
at that point then.
The ending definitely got me. Again, he's kind of, even though he's whining like you say, but he knows that it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
It's the only way to stop this. And I think it's interesting that JJ brings this up, that
I think that was his best moment. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. No, I'm saying no. That was his best
Right,
moment as
right. It's
like being sure of himself, kind of thing.
right. And I think the reason that it ends the way it does is because, like
wanna
you said
make it
before,
simple.
well, no, like you said before, there's no right answer. There's got to be a balance.
Yeah.
You know, the zealots are on one end where they're, I mean, you can't not have technology. It is a huge help to our society. And then you have the people on the other end that it's like a drug to them.
Yeah. And then there's also other people who, I mean, they're getting by fine without it.
Right.
But I mean,
could really
they
help
can
them
make
out.
stuff a lot easier for them
Right.
if they, choose to, indulge themselves in a little bit of technology.
Right. And I think in the way it ends, it does have sort of a, I guess, cheesy ending.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I like that how it went back to there. I think,
Yeah.
and I don't even know if it's cheesy because there's that moment where Tabby and what's the guy's name, Neve, Neve, or Nev.
Yeah.
So they have their moment. They almost, I guess we're saying they're like teenagers, young teens,
Yes.
like maybe 13. They have their moment. They almost kiss, and then the head advocate, I don't remember which one it was, kind of interrupts them because
Nev's got to go off and fight.
yeah, Tabby's like this, prodigal, advocate, but they know that she's related to Charlie, but they steal him away from this moment in this beautiful, lake scene, and they kind of go back there. So, I mean, they don't really tell you like where technology's place is in this, but they kind of go back to that area where, technology still has its place. I think they're trying to tell you, but you should
they're not
still
telling you-
appreciate the things.
They're also not telling you what that balance is. I feel like they're
And
implying
I
that
don't
you
think
should find
anyone.
that for
I don't
yourself.
think anyone can. And and I think that's a lot of what this thing is. It's open to interpretation. I think I only think what he's trying to do is trying to get you to take from this what you need. Okay, because by showing you the extremes of both sides, I mean, if you fall a little closer to one of those, you're like, oh man, maybe I better scooch over a little bit to one side.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good part and a good message
Yeah.
about
Yeah, I
this
agree.
book.
Totally.
But
Nice.
Well said.
You're on fire tonight.
Yeah, for real.
I'm actually intelligent. We don't really have a lot of intelligent conversations.
Yeah, because
that
we're
come
usually
up,
reading
but-
about superheroes.
Wow.
yeah, mostly it's why Aquaman doesn't know how to swim. How can he be Aquaman and not know how to swim? He can't even do the doggy paddle.
You just won't let up, will you?
Jesus.
All right.
I do like that they brought it back the end, like
Yeah.
to a nature scene, because I like the way that ended. It made the book.
There's an
Full circle.
innocence there. There's an innocence of being
Right.
young and living your life and not getting caught up in the other things.
Right. I mean, and they're going to have their first kiss. So it's like, even Nia, who was on the technology side, and I guess she's kind of like the representation of technology at this point, who's saying,
She's the mom.
yeah, nobody should interrupt this. Yeah. And I guess like this kind of answers the earlier question when we're like, what does mom represent? I think mom eventually represents the zealot side of technology. So,
I'm gonna show my face real quick.
Oh, really?
You didn't. Well, you were showing your face the whole time. Oh, it was an Aquaman background.
I have Aquaman background.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. I would have thrown it to you.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Good.
How long have we been doing this? Has anybody made any comments?
June did. My lovely wife said, "Sounds great."
Thanks, June.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right. Cool. Do you guys want to do some grades?
Yeah. I had one in mind already.
Sure.
All right. So then let's have you kick it off,
Yeah.
sir.
I give it a solid 8. An 8.0.
I think that's yeah.
It's there, again, I felt like it needed to be a little bit longer. But that's just me being nitpicky.
I feel like 8's a really good grade.
The story was solid. I like the artwork. I've read The Few. I've read Coyotes. Hayden didn't do Coyotes, but he did do The Few. The artwork in that is phenomenal. Again, it suits the storytelling. I just felt like there was just a couple little holes that needed to be filled in. But again, I think he's leaving it up to you to fill it in. And that's just me being nitpicky.
I do think he could have made it a richer story. I think he didn't do that on purpose. At least it read that way, where he wasn't giving you everything you needed.
Yeah.
What about you, Toy Story?
I'd go.
You can be honest. Don't feel bad because Ozzy's here.
Yeah.
You picked.
No.
He goes, no, I don't care what Ozzy thinks.
I'd go 7.5. I think, and most of that is just because it's everything you said. Just this art is not super my style.
Yeah.
That's really the only thing for me. But if I was just going based on the first time I read it, it might have been lower.
Yeah.
But after reading it twice and getting to focus on it a little more, and it's probably my own fault for reading it too fast, but yeah.
Wow.
All right, JJ.
Oh boy.
I feel bad on this one. I really do feel bad. I'm gonna bring it down to like a 5.5.
I had a
Interesting.
feeling.
No.
I had a feeling.
I had the same feeling.
It's
Yeah.
I could even.
Was it tough for you to get through?
It was extremely tough. Especially in the very beginning, it was really hard. I like the art. I like the art. It's not one of my favorite, but it worked for this book. I think if it would have been in color, the book I would have given it a 1. It would not have been as that good. I like the grayscale technology being a different color. Like you could focus on that. The story, there was so many holes. It very confusing. There was a couple of flashback scenes. It didn't flow right with me. I only read it once. Maybe if I read it a second time, maybe I'll give it another extra point on that. It wasn't my book.
That's fine.
It's not something I would have never bought this book and never read it if we didn't do this.
What's the point of this?
Yeah,
too?
And it's great, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
I love exploring new books, but knowing this, I want to read The Few. I want to read these other books. I have the Coyotes, and I'll probably end up reading that. I did not read it, but this book, it was, if it was longer, maybe filled in a little bit more of the holes.
Yeah.
I could have maybe liked it a little better, but it was just 5 issues. I just think anything with 5 issues, telling a
not a lot of
story
time
this
to build
big,
something up.
it's not. And I've read enough one-shots where, those are fine because you get a story from, and those characters are usually developed.
Yeah.
These are undeveloped characters. You're reading a 5-issue series. Just too many holes. If I think you said 10 issues is normally.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest issues with these shorter miniseries. It's like, how do you get the audience to care about these characters and still tell a good story with them that makes sense,
right?
And not just jump into the action.
You need. Me personally, I like character development. I'd like to know more about the characters, and and the story should fit into all that. I actually want to give it now a lower grade, to be honest with you. Now thinking about it, and I'm sorry for that. It was tough for me to get through.
I think that's your grade is probably the lowest I think it should go. Is
Okay.
a 5.5. I think I understand where you're coming from. I was all over the place. I was in between 6 to 7.5 for a while. I think I'm probably going to settle on like a 6.5. only because I didn't mind the art isn't my style. I do like the way it works. It works for this story, like we said, 100%. My thing is like I feel like we've kind of heard this story a lot. Like I said, we touched on it for a minute, but like this was very Ready Player One. I think it was I think it's good for people who are struggling to find that balance. For me specifically, again, I probably wouldn't read this on my own either. I did like that I read it, and I don't think 6.5 is a bad grade. I think it's a good grade. It's just not like the best thing I've ever read or think I will read. But it is a good story. It is a good message. It's just one I feel like we've heard a lot, and and I think we might need to hear it a lot. Not so much us, but some younger generations. And I hope, if anything, a couple younger generations, get a glimpse of this and be like, oh man, it's like this is a good message. And then as they're reading on their iPad, maybe I should turn this off and go throw a ball or something outside or go run,
exactly,
or go for a walk, take some, look at a tree, climb a tree, do something outside or with somebody. I think,
And not just that, but just be humane.
Yeah.
Just
be human to each other.
Yeah, just treat people with some kind of respect. I mean,
and that's something I feel like you didn't really get that until like the last issue.
But it felt like it tied together.
It did tie together, and I think he kind of like was waiting to put that message in. And maybe that's something I missed. If I read it again, maybe I'll see more hints of that as you go along. But and since we're reading a deep thing, I'm gonna go into one more deep thing. It's just like, I think it's okay to disagree or not understand why somebody's doing something, but you don't have to understand or like it. Just kind of respect it.
Right.
And that's kind of what everyone like. And you don't even have to agree with it. But on the same note, though, the people who you don't agree with should respect you for not agreeing with it. As long as you're disagreeing respectfully, I think you should respectfully say, okay, you don't like the way I do this or that, but, you're not disrespecting me for being able to do it. The whole thing about America is, freedom for everyone. Yeah. It shouldn't be just for, the people we want to have freedom for. But I think, I think if that's it, the good message is that if you can not agree with something, but still respect their right to do it. I forget what it was. There was an episode of Family Guy, and Peter Griffin, I don't remember what episode it is. He goes, while I don't agree with what you say, I would fight to the death for your right to say it. And I was just like, that's what it's got to be. Yeah. But I think that was a late message, but also a good one.
But it also made sense in the context of the whole story then at the end.
Sorry, I didn't. Oh my.
Sorry.
But since we talked about kind of this similar message, is there anything else along the lines, maybe people who really did enjoy this, that, we mentioned Ready Player One. If you guys enjoyed this, if you enjoy history, if you enjoy...
Read, kind of don't watch, read.
If you saw the movie, great. Yeah. If you're in our age group, if you kind of grew up in the 70s, 80s, probably early 90s. You still
or you're
enjoyed
like
it.
Me and I like that culture.
He thinks he grew up. He was reincarnated from a 70s rocker who partied too hard early and
totally agree with that.
Yeah. But
Ready Player One needs to be read.
The book is great. If you enjoyed this, I think you would definitely enjoy that. I think it has a decent amount of the same depth too.
It does.
At the end of that, kind of something
he
similar
was
happens.
like,
I think it's more suitable a little bit for all ages.
Yes, definitely.
Than this story was. Is there anything else outside of that you guys would kind of?
I've heard a lot of people refer to Ender's Game.
Yes. I've read that as well. Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people refer to that a lot. I've never read it.
I hear it's good.
Very good book.
It's read.
Yeah,
I did see the movie. I think I'm one of the few people that saw the movie.
I saw the movie. I heard the movie was a letdown.
Yeah,
I've only seen the movie.
Yeah. Maybe I'll check out. Not the movie, the book.
Yeah.
That's something that I've heard very much to it.
There's a lot. What's it? 1984 or 1985? Big Brother watching. That's another one.
1984 is awesome.
1984.
Yeah, it's not necessarily technology based, but it's about that whole
greatest year ever.
Thing. Yeah, great book.
Well, I don't know if you guys are watching Westworld, but
I tried.
I watched the first episode twice.
So
for the first season.
Yeah, I know the first 4 episodes are pretty bad. Once you get past that, it starts getting a lot deeper, and the previews for the third season have come out, and it's funny because I had finished reading this, and I saw the issue the previews for the third season, and it reminded me a lot of this as well.
Okay.
All right, good stuff.
Any other guys? No. Any other recommendations?
No.
That's similar.
I
No.
think we're good.
Okay. All
Cool.
right. Cool.
Ozzy, thank you for joining us.
That's
Yes,
awesome.
sir.
Thank you
My
for
pleasure.
thanks for
Thank you.
recommending this group.
Yes.
Thanks for recommending this book. I mean, it's nice to try something different.
I mean, I love image stuff.
Yeah.
That even like the okay image stuff, I feel is still
Yeah.
worth reading.
Yeah. I mean, I've said it a bunch of times. I'm very basic. I'm a basic B.
You
when
like
it
your
comes to my-
Spider-Man and your
When it
Superman.
comes to my reading, but I do like reading the independent stuff. I mean, I've read a decent amount, probably more than most people who would claim to be very basic.
Yeah.
But I don't always go for it. So when I get recommendations, I think it's I think
it may
kind
point you
of
in
takes
another
me
direction
somewhere
too.
else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But,
I think Coyotes will be
I gotta check that out.
something that people are going to want to check out because that's a really good story. Again, done by Sean Lewis. Obviously, I think that's now in 14th or 16th issue, somewhere around there, I think.
Oh wow. Oh, so it's
So
ongoing.
it's an ongoing.
Alright,
So
nice.
I think that's something that will be a little bit different.
Cool.
Nice. Check it out.
All right. Anybody who wants to get more info, Ozzy is at Best Comics on Thursday.
Yep.
You can pick his brain there. Maybe he'll be there more over the summer. We don't know.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. But thanks, Oz. We got to do
problem.
another
My
one.
pleasure,
Yes,
guys. Yeah.
You got to come back.
Full disclosure, guys. Next time we do this, we're probably going to do it in video, not live format. You know, we given it a lot of thought and decided that I think a cleaner, we can do a little bit more with the finished edited video. So be on the lookout for that.
We're not giving up live stuff though.
No, we're not saying that we won't go back to live, but I think, until we get, the video where we want it to be, I think we're probably going to do it in that pre-recorded format for the time
Nice.
being. So is that it? We have a book. We have a new next book yet?
I don't know if we decided, did we?
I don't think we decided.
Yeah, I think we're trying to get someone else.
What do we
on
want,
board,
Marvel or
right?
DC?
It'd be
know.
another Marvel book because we just did DC. We
Yeah,
did,
DC independent. So I think Marvel would be up.
Yeah, we got to
next.
think about it.
I don't know if there's.
We should
see-
read one of those Max series. Those are really good.
Oh, that's a good point. That's
Max?
a good point.
Nick
Max
Fury
series?
Max.
Yeah.
Oh, they have a Punisher one I read.
Punisher.
Yeah,
Punisher's good,
Punisher
too.
Max is
Ah.
supposed to be fantastic.
I read
That would-
those.
That would definitely be one for an adult crowd, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I forgot we were trying to get someone else. I think we're trying to talk to Nick about it.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see. We'll drag him in.
We'll get Trey. Yeah, we'll
I don't
go.
know if I want to read a Marvel series though. All right, we'll see.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for joining.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
If
Ozzy.
you're
My
watching
pleasure.
on YouTube or anywhere else, and you could click to subscribe, like. If you don't like it, don't click anything. Don't tell anyone. If you did like it, make sure to tell other people.
That'd be great.
And you can check us out on Long Island Comic Guys on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter,
Twitter sucks.
and also on Don't Feed the Geeks at
Nice.
Don't Feed the Geeks.
Nice.
Same thing.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
Until next time.